pumpkin ravioli in a browned butter sage sauce. All home.
Let's see what's cooking. Let's get the facts. Let's see what's cooking. It's time for yoyomax12.
Hello everyone. First thing we're going to do is make the filling for these ravioli. Now I kind of looked at a bunch of recipes online and kind of came up with my own version of this. That is 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 cloves of garlic that had been minced, and I just cooked that over medium-high heat until the garlic started to soften and smelled fragrant. Then I added a half a teaspoon of salt and about a 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground pepper. Gave that a stir, and then I added in 1 cup of canned pumpkin. Not pumpkin pie filling, pure canned pumpkin. That pumpkin is not sweetened. Stirred that around and then decided to add some spices. I added a 1/4 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and I added a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Stirred those spices in, and then I sprinkled on about a 1/4 cup or a good small handful of shredded parmesan cheese. Stirred that in until it was combined, and then I gave it a taste and decided to need a little bit of sweetness, so I added a half a tablespoon of brown sugar, tasted it again, didn't think it was sweet enough, and I added an additional half tablespoon of brown sugar for a total of about a tablespoon. But you know what? You need to taste it and just decide if you like it the way it is. Now on to the fresh pasta. The recipe you're seeing on your screen is actually a pasta recipe that is designed for the KitchenAid mixer. I'll put it in the description box below the video. You just have to click on show more to see it. Basically, it's flour, eggs, and salt, and some water. That's pretty much it. And I used a paddle attachment to start, and then I switched to the dough hook attachment to knead it up a little bit. And then I kneaded it by hand a little on the countertop just to make sure that it had the right texture. You want it to be smooth. It's going to be very, very stiff, but that's normal for pasta. You don't want it to be too wet, so you don't want it to be sticky, but you also don't want it to be dry and crumbly either. Now, the most important part of this recipe is you need to let it rest. So I covered it, well, in this case, put it in a plastic bag and let it rest for a half an hour before you do anything else with it. Now, the actual pasta sheet making is really easy if you have a pasta attachment for your KitchenAid mixer like I do. It takes all of the elbow grease and the sweat out of it. And basically I'm putting pieces of that pasta dough ball through the machine, and I'm adjusting the little knob on the side, and that makes it thinner and thinner. I went up to number 6 on my pasta wheel. And as you can see, you can actually start to see your hand through it because it gets very thin. And you're going to continue with that until you get several long sheets of pasta. Then take teaspoons of your filling. You're going to put it on top of the sheets of pasta. And what I did is I mixed an egg with a tablespoon of water, and then using a pastry brush, I'm just brushing little circles around each of those little mounds of filling. And then I'm putting another sheet of pasta over top. And then I'm going to press out the air in between each of the little mounds of pasta. Press out the air and make sure the sheets are nicely stuck together. And then you need to cut these out. You can use whatever shape you want. I'm using a ravioli cutter, but you could use a pasta wheel or a knife or even a cookie cutter for that matter. You're just going to punch those out, and then you're going to just sprinkle a little bit of flour on each one and put them on a plate and set that aside until you're ready to cook them. Now I'm telling you to put a little flour on them because if they stick to the plate, it's going to be really hard to peel them off without them breaking apart. Now, what did I do with the scrap dough? Well, I put it back together into a ball, and then I put it back through the pasta maker to make more sheets of pasta and to make more ravioli. And then you need to bring a large pot of water to a boil, throw your pasta in there, cook it for about 5 minutes until it floats, and it's ready. Drain it, set that aside. Now for the sauce. That is 4 tablespoons of butter and a teaspoon of sage. And you're going to cook the butter over medium-high heat until it starts to brown. Now the milk solids in the butter will start to brown. It'll get nice and frothy, and you'll see here in a moment when I stir it, you can see how brown it is. Once it's brown, it's pretty much done. You're going to throw in your freshly cooked and drained pasta, and then stir it around and toss it to coat, and it is ready to serve. What I did with mine is I toasted up some pine nuts and I added some additional shredded Parmesan cheese, and this was absolutely delicious. I used to buy these at my local grocery store, and then they stopped making them. And you know what? These were as good, if not better, than the store-bought ones. They were just fantastic. That pumpkin filling is savory, but has a tiny little bit of sweetness. And the combination with the fresh pasta and the pine nuts and the Parmesan is just really, really good. So fancy, be awesome to serve to guests. Now, they're a lot of trouble to make, I'll give you that. But if you do a whole big pile of them, what you can do is you can freeze them before boiling. So once you roll them out, cut them out, put a little bit of flour on them, put them on a cookie sheet in a single layer, freeze them solid, then put them in a bag, and then all you have to do is throw them into the boiling water, frozen, and just cook them for an extra couple of minutes. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I have put these on my pumpkin goodies playlist. Lots of pumpkin goodies, most of them sweet on this playlist, so go check it out. And next Monday, which will be October 2nd, 2017, I'm actually going to be doing another pumpkin goodie, and it's going to be part of a collaboration with some other Canadian YouTubers. So I hope you can catch that one too. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.